And to discuss this further, I'm now being joined by Mr. Subhash Chandra Garg, who's a former Finance Secretary of India, joining me live from Delhi. Welcome to World Business Watch, Mr. Garg. Sir, with inflation cooling, do you see a rate cut soon?
See, the inflation which is being referred to is the retail inflation, the consumer price inflation, which is definitely cooling, because there is a very large weight of food and the clothing in that. That is that's cooling. But the rate which the RBI charges, in my judgment, is not necessarily related to the food price inflation. It has no control over the food prices. And therefore, using the monetary policy instrument for food-based price inflation is certainly not a great thing to do. However, the fact remains that at 6.25%, India's interest rate set by the Reserve Bank is one of the highest, and it is hurting the larger economy. And therefore, with this also now going out of the way, there is a good possibility now that the Reserve Bank, which has already resumed its cycle for reducing rates, may do more in times to come. Next policy is due on in April, and it would be very legitimate to expect another 25 basis point cut in that policy.
Understood. So how do you think tariff threats will weigh on RBI's policy moves going forward?
The tariff, you see, the Americans have unleashed this big war on tariff, and India is also under threat. 2nd April, Americans are saying that the reciprocal tariffs will kick in. And with the reciprocal tariffs kick in, if India retaliates, which is unlike in my judgment, then the imported costs will go up. So if India doesn't go raise the tariff in retaliation, there is unlikely to be any effect on inflation. It might actually be very ironical that if it affects exports, in a way, again, I don't expect that to happen, but if it affects exports of India with the US charging higher tariff rates and becoming costlier in American market, then the domestic supply, in fact, increases, which further reduces the impact on inflation. So I don't think US tariff policy will have any adverse impact as far as the inflation is concerned. It's a different matter about growth, but inflation, I don't think there is any likelihood of any adverse impact.
Understood. And India has been fairly compliant and cordial till now, as per whatever demands Trump has made. Now, sir, staying with inflation, do you see a risk of inflation bouncing back, forcing the RBI to reverse course later?
It is very much true, because India's retail price inflation is related to much related to the food prices. I said earlier, it is expected that the wheat and other winter crops are going to be quite good. The estimates suggest that should lead not to have any pressure on the food prices in times to come. But there is enormous amount of volatility connected with this. If the temperatures which have started rise further, it might affect the vegetable supplies in time to come. We don't know the full impact on the wheat as yet. Wheat growth is very much related to the temperatures in the month of March very well. So if there is no adverse impact on the wheat crops, by the way, the temperatures in Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, which are also the key contributors of the wheat supply, have been very high. So there is a likelihood that there might be some adverse impact. So if the food situation, both on the food grains as well as on the vegetables, turn somewhat bad, you may have the inflation spiking again. But I don't think that would impact the policy, because policy now is being driven by much larger factors of India's growth being subdued, and there being a consensus across the government and the Reserve Bank and the people that the RBI can contribute only by keeping the interest rates somewhat low.
Understood.
I don't think even if the inflation spikes in 3 to 4 months' time, there is likelihood of the RBI raising rates again.
All right, that was the former Finance Secretary of India, Mr. Subhash Chandra Garg, joining me on World Business Watch. Sir, the amount of experience you have, it's always a pleasure hearing from you. Thank you so much for joining us. Look forward to speaking with you again.
Great.